Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, warm welcome to the devotees who have joined today for our continued discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, second chapter. We have been discussing about, we've been discussing about the pastimes of Krishna, which are remembered by Uddhava. And, one by one, we've been going through these pastimes. Last time, of course, we met a long time back now. It's been, I think, almost a month, maybe, if not more. So my apologies for the long break in our, katha. But I believe Remuna Prabhu took one lecture, Prem Hari Prabhu took one lecture. So you've not been bereft of katha. You've been receiving Hari Katha. And that is the right mood for us to have. Not that, we feel, oh, so and so is there, so I will attend, so and so is there, I will not attend. We should never discriminate like that. The Srimad Bhagavatam is all pure. It is non-different than Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Whoever speaks Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, whichever devotee speaks Srimad Bhagavatam, we should be willing to hear it because it is very purifying for us. So, last time we discussed the Kalia Daman Leela, which was, I think we did it offline in the HPCL, TV room. And this time we are having it online. So thank you for those of you who have joined. And, let us discuss about this beautiful Leela of Govardhan, Govardhan pastime of Krishna, which is one of his most celebrated pastimes. Of course, Krishna is, every one of his pastimes is amazing, and it is infinite. All his pastimes are infinite in number and infinite in, there's so much meaning, so much realization, so much nectar that one can churn from one single pastime of Krishna. The acharyas for millenniums have been churning these beautiful pastimes and meditating on these pastimes and relating their devotional ecstasies to their disciples for millenniums. This has been happening, and no one has got tired. No one has got tired. No one has got bored. Sometimes we feel that अरे यार ये तो पता है मेरे को past time. इसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है? What's the great big deal about hearing Kalya Daman Leela or about Govardhan Leela or any other Leela? Why we want to keep hearing the same thing again and again? Because by hearing again and again, we develop an attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We get purified. Vidhunoti, Surit Satam. This Srimad Bhagavatam has the ability to purify our contaminated hearts, and it can take us back to Godhead. Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we can go back to Godhead. Right? So you have to be, you have to be very focused, not get distracted, just listen Hari Katha, whoever it is coming from. Now, the person who's speaking may not be very perfect, may not be having purity of heart, but if that person is repeating the words heard from his or her spiritual master, then whatever is being spoken is perfect. So, with that mood, let us embark on this beautiful pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, the Govardhan Leela. So this Govardhan Leela, it starts, immediately. Actually, before this, there is one more Leela, which is about, this Brahma Patnis, the wives of the Brahmanas. So we didn't get into that because it's not mentioned in the verses mentioned by Uddhava. But because Uddhava is also, he's just summarizing the key, most important pastimes of Krishna, not getting into too much details, right? Because he's just give a summary to Vidura. So he speaks about this pastime. So in that pastime also, there were these Brahmanas who were performing Vedic sacrifices, but they forgot that Krishna, Vedescha Sarver Veda Aham Eva Vedyo, Krishna is to be known, to be satisfied by performance all Vedic sacrifices. So again, now what he saw was that the Brajvasis were also seemingly preparing for some sacrifice. And he knew Krishna is the Supreme Lord, is the Supreme Personality of God residing in everyone's heart. So he knows exactly what people are doing what for, right? So even if we are doing some so-called devotional activity, Krishna knows in our heart, he's residing in our heart. So he knows exactly why we are doing this devotion. Even if you are doing a devotional activity with the wrong purpose, ki bhai, let me become famous by this. Let me get, some great name, fame, and, praise for whatever I am doing. If that is our intention, Krishna knows. He knows everything. So even before the thought comes in our mind, he knows that what is the thought that's going to come in our mind. He knows past, present, and future. So therefore, you'll be very careful. Even when you do devotional service, whatever service we're doing, you have to do it in the right consciousness, with the right, right frame of mind. That I want to do this to please Krishna, to please my Guru, to please Srila Prabhupada, to please the Vaishnavas. Because if you're doing it for our own pleasure, if you're doing it for our own, self-aggrandizement, I want to become such a great, well-renowned devotee that everyone feels, oh, as soon as he comes, oh, this Prabhu is so great, this Mataji is so great. If you're doing that consciousness, we will not be benefited. We will still be benefited because devotional service is eternal, it is all purifying. But still, it will take a very long time, for us to be really fully purified. So we have to have our intentions clear. So now Krishna knows that this yajna that they are planning, this big tayari going on, for a yajna, this yajna is being done for the pleasure of Lord, to please Lord Indra. So Krishna knows this, but he wanted to stop them. He said, yajna ka chakkar kya hai? They forget that the yajna pati, the recipient of all the, the oblations that are offered into the fire. Yagyapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is sitting there amongst them, and they are his devotees. So he is thinking that it's not, it's not. Prabhupada mentions there, it is not that by performing any Vedic sacrifices or Vedic chants, one can get Krishna. So it's not that, आप यज्ञ करते जाओ, एक दिन भगवान कृष्ण मिलेंगे. No, Krishna is not obtained by any other means other than bhakti. He says, bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan chasmi tatvatah. He says that I can only be obtained by bhakti. There is no other means. So it's not by yajna, not by jnana, not by Ashtanga Yoga, not by any other means we can obtain Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada says that by worshipping Krishna, one automatically, whatever results of Vedic sacrifices are there, they're already available to devotees. So then why one would make so much effort to do all these kind of Vedic sacrifices when Krishna is already there amidst the Brajvasis? You know, as it says, Aradito yadi hari tapasa tata kim, na aradito yadi hari tapasa tata kim. So if you are already worshipping Hari, तपसा तथा कि why you are doing so much tapasya, why you are doing so much yajna, इतना मेहनत क्यों कर रहे हो? Why you are getting into so much jnana? Not needed. न आराधितो यदि हरि, if you are not worshipping Krishna, tapasa tata kim, then what is the big point? तपस्या करके क्या उखाड़ लोगे? क्या what are you going to achieve? You know, because Supreme Lord को आप वैसे भी worship नहीं कर रहे हो. So Prabhupada makes a very beautiful point in the very beginning of this whole pastime that
అక్కడ చిన్న మట్లో రా మట్లో వా ఇట్రా
Hare Hare Krishna. So our Brahme Prabhu is not there, is it?
I'm there, Prabhuji.
Where are you? I can't see you. Okay. You can just mute the people, Prabhu, if they
Yeah,
are.
I did that.
Hare Krishna.
I don't know. They joined later, probably with the
That's
unmute.
no problem. So I request everybody just stay on mute unless you want to say something. You want to add something, you can always unmute yourself. Just raise a hand and you can speak up. Okay. Hare Krishna. So where were we? Yeah. So we're saying that the Supreme Lord, he does not want the Brajvasis. The Brajvasis, it is like they are like the supreme standard. They are like the people who work for HPCL, BPCL will understand this very well. That you have this COCO, right? Company owned, company operated petrol pumps, right? So BPCL has their own ones, HPCL has their own ones. They're called COCO. They are like a showcase कि भाई ऐसे होता है petrol pump. This is how it is to be operated. This is how you treat the customer. This is how you give them a bill. This is how you clean their car. This is how you fill air. वो देख के सबको ऐसा लगता है कि वाओ यार यहीं से पेट्रोल भरना है मेरे को हमेशा, right? So they're like a showcase for the whole world. Company operated, company owned, showroom, so to say. In the same way, Vrindavan is like a coco for Krishna, for the devotees to understand ki bhakti kya cheez hai. What is this bhakti? You may see so many devotees over millenniums, who are great devotees of Krishna. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says that, of the devotees, the Brajvasis are the greatest, right? So these Brajvasis, they are the greatest devotees of Krishna. They may worship him in different rasas. Some may worship him in Shanta rasa. Some may worship him in, the Dasya ras. Someone may worship him in Sakya. Someone in Vatsalya, someone in Madhurya, different rasas we may be worshipping Krishna in Vrindavan. But their devotional service is absolutely Savay Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adhokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati, as it is explained in one of the most important verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, that this ahaituki apratihata. Ahaituki means with no hetu, with no motivation, no ये that भाई ये करूंगा तो ये मिलेगा. They have no motivation. They just want to please Krishna. That's all. They don't want anything for themselves. And ahaituki and apratihata, uninterrupted. So they are like that kind of showcase devotees कि भाई इनको देखो ये होती है भक्ति. Now, if those devotees are engaging in some kind of a materialistic sacrifice to please Lord Indra, Krishna is not very happy with that. So, no, iski zarurat nahi hai, right? So he wants to stop it. So therefore, Krishna comes up to Nanda Maharaj and he asks him, "Ki, acha, like a small child, the big, you can imagine, right? When big sacrifice is going on, जैसे कोई डिवोटीज अपना घर पे कुछ यज्ञ या होम कुछ करते हैं, शांति का, इसका, सत्यनारायण का, अलग अलग करते हैं लोग. तो when this happens, tremendous tayari, right? So much tayari has to be done because the Brahman, of course, nowadays it's everything is a formula. The Brahmana gives ye 10 cheez la ke ready rakho, but then he comes and he does everything. We don't have to do anything. But earlier it was not like that. The Yajman had to do so many things as part of the Yajna. So there's so much preparation that goes into doing a Yajna. So, at that time, some child comes and asks, see, kya hai? Kya? What is this Yajna? Why are we doing this? Whom are we trying to please? And Nanda Maharaj, he says, "Abhi isko chota bachcha hai, isko main kya samjhaun? Jane do." So he just keeps silent. When he keeps silent, Krishna is not satisfied with the silent answer. So he persists. He persisted. He said, "No, no, no. You please tell me. I want to know. What is this thing we are doing? What is this yajna? Whom are we trying to please? For whom we are doing? What is the details of this? Is this a Vedic sacrifice we are doing? Or is this like a local ritual जैसा कुछ कर रहे हैं? बहुत सारे सवाल पूछते हैं. So then our Nanda Maharaj, he starts, okay, he says, okay, I'll explain to you. Nanda Maharaj tells him that this is a traditional ceremony, which basically we are doing to please Indradev, right? Now, Indradev is the demigod who has the portfolio, like, like we have in India, we have this parliament in which we have got members of parliament, MPs, and those MPs hold different portfolios, right? So the prime minister is the one who selects कि भाई तू ये करेगा, तू ये करेगा, you will do this, तू ये करेगी, like that. The prime minister is the one who selects, and he is the one who holds the power to give them the portfolio. He is the one who has the power to take away the portfolio also. They can't complain कि अरे मैं ये अच्छा कर रहा था, नहीं. If he decides to change, he decides to change. Nobody can check him for that. So like that, Indra has the portfolio of rains, providing rains for, rains for the Earth planet. So Nanda Maharaj explains that Indra is one who provides rains, and these rains are very essential for us, for our agriculture, for whatever religious ceremonies we are doing, for life itself. Rain is so critical. We have to think. Sometimes we take rain so much for granted. So much for granted. Rain is a miracle, nothing short of a miracle. And it is such a wonderful arrangement of the Supreme Lord that the sun is the one who kind of creates the rains by first evaporating water from the oceans and the seas and oceans, and then converting it into clouds. And those clouds come at the appropriate time. They imagine if those clouds see the whole choreography that goes into rain, right? It's so interesting. We should think about it sometime. We take everything in the material world so much for granted. हम लोग कुछ सोचते ही नहीं है कि दुनिया में क्या कैसे what miracles are going on around you. At every moment there is a miracle going on, but you don't know. हम लोग को मालूम नहीं. हम लोग इतना बोलते हैं ना, स्थूल हो गए. We have become so क्या बोलते हैं, so dull we have become that we don't see these miracles. The sun evaporates the ocean and the sun water. Now, if it just evaporates and they form a cloud, the cloud itself is a miracle, no? That it's just the water is gone and it is just sitting there in the sky. It can always come back. It can again condense and fall there only, no, in the ocean again. But no. पहले तो एक cloud बन जाता है, stable form of like a balloon holding water, but it is not a balloon. There is nothing material holding it, nothing nothing solid that is holding all that water. It is just there in the cloud, in the sky, right? Then the wind pushes that from the oceans, it pushes it towards the land, right? Now if Vayudev did not join this choreography, the water would evaporate and there only it would rain, no? But no, Vayudev very nicely pushes it towards the land, so there is there's a southwest monsoon, there is a northeast monsoon that India enjoys, and other countries also must be enjoying like that. So these rains come, right? So Indra, Indra is the one who's responsible overall ki kahan kitna rain bhejna hai, and the water function. So all these demigods act in concert. It's like a big orchestra that is happening, so that as per the karma of the people living in a particular land, they get the right amount of sun, right amount of wind, right amount of water, right amount of everything Unbelievable, right? But this is not happening by chance. It is all being orchestrated by the demigods. We shouldn't take the demigods also cheaply. They are extremely powerful, empowered Shakti-avesh avatars, practically. Some of them very, very powerful, empowered living entities of the Lord. We should not take them, not Shakti-avesh avatars, but they're very, very powerful, empowered living entities, who have been given a specific function to perform within the universe. So he explains that Indra provides us rain से सब कुछ होता है. So then Krishna, he wants to now Krishna when he does any activity, when the Supreme Lord does any activity, एक activity में उनके बहुत सारे activities, like जैसे many birds with one stone. So Krishna first wanted to ensure that the devotion of the Supreme, devotion of the Brajvasis remains focused on on the right thing. They should not go into these materialistic ceremonies to please the demigods and thinking, oh, उससे हमारा कुछ फायदा होगा. बस एक तो उनको वो रोकना था. Second thing, Krishna, as I said, he is residing in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaha mridi sanivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. He is residing in everyone's heart as a Paramatma. So he knows that who has become proud, who has become angry, who has become envious, lusty, greedy, illusioned. So he knows that. So he knows that Indra, as the recipient of so many yagyas, he was very proud, that, hey, I am the king of the demigods. I am the one who's controller of Surya, Varuna, Chandra, all these people. I am the controller. He was very proud, and so many people are offering me oblations, and so if there's one thing that Krishna does not tolerate amongst his servants, that is pride. He can tolerate everything else. He tolerates all the other mistakes that Indra makes, but he cannot tolerate pride. He immediately acts to crush it. And not just Indra, this applies to you also. It applies to me also. If we become proud of who we are and who we think we, what, मैं देखो कितना कर रहा हूँ सेवा, how much service I'm doing. If we become proud, immediately Krishna acts swiftly and he crushes ekdam fine powder. ऐसा very fine powder he makes of your false ego. So you have to be very careful. Don't become proud. You should never ever feel कि भाई मैं कितना great हूँ. हमें ये समझना चाहिए. Actually, it is the Lord who is great. I am just an insignificant fool who has just been given the service of serving. I am fortunate. Guru Krishna Prasade पाए भक्ति लता बीज. मेरे हृदय में पत्थर है वो. It's like a stone. But still in that stone also, the Lord has the ability to plant a seed and make something come out. We see, कभी कभी बिल्डिंग के वॉल से हमें दिखता है कि एक पीपल का ट्री निकल रहा है, या कोई पत्थर में प्रॉपर स्टोन से एक छोटा सा प्लांट निकलता है जिसमें एक फ्लावर आता है. We have seen this, right? So the Lord can do anything. He can, he can, on our stone-like heart also, he can plant bhakti lata beej. So we should understand that whatever bhakti we have got, whatever cheap, degraded quality of bhakti we are doing, you understand that also is gift of the Lord only. If we become proud, immediately Krishna will act. He will, crush our pride. So he wanted to crush Indra's pride also. So Krishna, then he starts speaking a very different kind of philosophy to Nand Maharaj and the assembled, other Brajvasis, to convince them कि ये इंद्र के लिए करने का कोई जरूरत नहीं है, right? Because he knows he wants to make Indra angry. So he starts speaking this Karma Vimamsa philosophy, where he says that if we are doing our duty, see, we are Vaishyas, if we are doing our duty, then the demigods are bound. They have to give us the result. ऐसा नहीं कि वो लोग बोल सकते नहीं तुम अपना ड्यूटी किया लेकिन हमको तुमने propitiate नहीं किया. You're not done any yagya to satisfy us, so therefore we will not give you anything. So Prabhupada says that this Karma Vimamsa philosophy is actually an atheistic philosophy, because it does not recognize that there is a supreme power. That supreme power is giving us everything, right? It doesn't recognize. But Krishna wanted to purposely make Indra angry. ये कौन है डेमिगॉड, उनके हाथ में क्या है, कुछ नहीं है. They have to just give. If we do our duty, then as per our karma, we have to get the fruit. ऐसा उसके लिए अलग से अपने को डेमिगॉड्स को प्लीज करने का कोई जरूरत नहीं. So when he says this, like Maharaj Nanda Maharaj, and all the other elder members, they start arguing, right? They say that अरे ऐसा थोड़ी है, that without satisfying the predominating deity, one cannot get any good results simply by performing material activities. कि खाली अपना कर्म करो और बस अपने को जो मिलना चाहिए सब अपने आप मिलते जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं है. We have to please, they say. And Prabhupada says that this is correct. He gives an example. Prabhupada says that even if, now this is very important, I just pay, everyone pay attention on this point, very important. Prabhupada says that if you are, and we have all experienced this, right? You are supposed you have fallen sick, okay? You have fallen sick and you go to a excellent hospital, okay? Maybe some I can't think of any excellent hospital, but anyway, some big hospital you go and some top doctor is serving you, okay? Still person dies. In spite of going to the best hospital, Jaslok में गए, Jaslok का top doctor मेरे को treat कर रहा है, लेकिन फिर भी व्यक्ति चला गया, चल बसे, right? So it is not that just by you go to the hospital and you're taking treatment from the best doctor in the best first class medical treatment. It is concluded that the first class medical treatment or the attempts of a first class doctor are not in themselves enough or the cause for curing a patient. The hand of the personality, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also needed. Unless the Lord wills it, no matter how hard we try, we don't get well. And if the Lord wills it, भाई सब लोग अपने आप ठीक हो जाते हैं. Like COVID, there was a period when no matter what people tried, they were dying. Right? They were going to hospitals, they were taking medicines, they were taking vaccines also, and still people were dying. And then there came a period around, I think, October, November last year, when this second variant, Omicron or something, a second variant came. At that time, people were doing self-medication. सब लोग घर पे ही बैठे रहे, कोई अस्पताल गया नहीं. Just everyone stayed at home, isolation at home. They were taking Dolo, they were taking vitamin tablets, vitamin C, vitamin A. They were taking vitamins and they were taking Dolo and they were getting better. I think I also got it. I'm not sure. But I got better myself. I never went to a hospital. I just stayed at home. So the point is, if the Lord wills, then everything can happen properly. If the Lord doesn't will, nothing can happen, right? So like that. So they were saying that the hand of there must be the hand of predominating gods. But Lord Krishna, Prabhupada says, and I quote, okay, Prabhupada says, Lord Krishna nullified this argument. The argument को भगवान ने काट दिया. What did he say? He said the demigods give results only to persons who have executed their prescribed duties. अगर आपने ड्यूटी किया है तो डेमीगॉड को आपको देना ही पड़ेगा. Demigod cannot give any good results to person who has not executed the prescribed duties. Similarly, if someone has done their prescribed duties, demigods have to give. Therefore, he says demigods are dependent on the execution of duties and they are not absolute in awarding good results to anybody. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई यार मेरे को ये बंदा अच्छा लगता है चलो मैं इसको दे देता हूँ, ऐसा नहीं कर सकता demigod. Demigod is bound by the fact that does this person have the bank balance. A demigod is like a bank teller, बैंक टेलर जैसा वो अकाउंट बैंक में. अभी ऑफकोर्स आजकल कोई बैंक में ज्यादा जाता नहीं है, बट जो जाते थे पहले, we used to go to the bank, stand in a long queue, and there would be a person sitting there at the counter. He says account number, खट 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 खट. अच्छा, then they'll ask for some identification, passbook दिखाओ, and then based on that, then हाँ बोलो काम क्या है, बोला okay, I want to know account balance, and I want to withdraw 2,000 rupees cash or 20,000 rupees cash I want to withdraw. Then the person would look at the account, would say कि अच्छा इसके पास है 2 lakh रुपया है and minimum balance is 10,000. He's asking for 20,000. No problem. He has to give 20,000. He doesn't have choice. He can't say कि नहीं नहीं आज मेरा मूड नहीं है आप ना कल आओ. He has to give. He has to pay. Similarly, if the bank balance of the person is only 10,000 rupees, okay, and he is asking to withdraw 20,000, the bank teller can't look at that person's face and say, बेचारा है, गरीब लग रहा है, थोड़ा जरूरतमंद लग रहा है, he needs help, I think I should give him. So while he has access to the money, he can't give that money. He can't. He's not allowed to. So the demigod's position is somewhat like that, right? So that's what Krishna says कि भाई ये लोग के पास कोई independent authority नहीं है, so why should one care about them? So like that he convinces the Brajvasis, Nanda Maharaj. He says that since we are Vaishyas, our proper duty is to do farming, to do trading, agricultural producing, make agricultural produce and trade it, protect the cows, and to do banking. This is so Prabhupada explains that this is the duty of the Vaishya community, that they have to do farming, they have to trade they have to do trading, they have to protect the cows, and they have to do banking. Means they provide money to people for whatever activities they want to do. They lend money. This is the role of the Vaishyas. So he says, Krishna says that we are Vaishyas, and therefore our specific relationship is with Govardhan and Vrindavan and the cows and nothing more. हमें क्या लेना देना इंद्रा या चंद्रा, ऐसा हम लोग को, हमारा तो सब कुछ, हमारा सर्वस्व ये, these cows are everything for us, and the land on which they are, जो गाय जो चर रहे हैं वो land हमारे लिए सब कुछ है. So my father, I suggest we begin a sacrifice. We will satisfy the local brahmanas and Govardhan hill, and let us have nothing to do with Indra. Indra ko chhod. Nanda Maharaj, now he is also very intelligently trying to negotiate with Krishna. Nanda Maharaj says, ठीक है, आपको ये गोवर्धन और ब्राह्मणों के लिए यज्ञ करना है, कोई बात नहीं, हम करेंगे, पर पहले अभी ये इंद्र का कर लेने दो, इसका हम लोग अलग से करेंगे ना, we'll do separately. Krishna says no. Krishna says no. He says that ये अलग से अभी वापस ये गोवर्धन और ब्राह्मणों के लिए करने के लिए बहुत समय लग जाएगा. अपने पास सब सामग्री रेडी है, everything is ready. Let us just use that in service of Govardhan. Let us do Govardhan Puja. So why Govardhan Puja? Why is Govardhan so important? Because Govardhan provides the fresh grasses, the trees, the breezes, and the rivers and lakes and everything, due to which our cows are able to survive. We are able to survive. Therefore, Govardhan, let's worship Govardhan. So then the Nanda Maharaj and all the elder Brajvasis, they say, okay, chalo, theek hai. Abhi aap batao kya karna hai, right? So then Krishna gives them very specific instructions, right? Kya karna hai, what is to be done. Just a moment, I'll just take a 30-second break. Sorry. Sorry. So yeah, so Krishna gives them very specific instructions कि क्या क्या करना है. कहते first we can circumambulate the Govardhan, then we'll make offerings. He says that whatever offerings that we have made, okay, for Indra Puja, we will now use them for Govardhan Puja. He says, bring whatever food you have in your home. जो भी धान्य है, जो भी कुछ है, सब कुछ बना के लेके आओ, right? So then the Brajvasis, they come there to Govardhan and they make mountains of rice. His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, in one of his lectures, he had described in great graphic detail. Of course, I am not able to imitate him, not able to repeat for the way he speaks. But he was explaining that there were mountains of rice, all kinds of rice varieties were there. And there were lakes of dal. मतलब दाल के कुंड बन गए थे, इतना दाल of different varieties was there. so many mountains of laddus and so many different varieties of vegetables, and it was like a whole, kya bole, it was like a massive collection of all kinds of wonderful offerings to Govardhan. So Krishna said, let's keep all of them in front of Govardhan. Then they performed a beautiful yagya. The Brahmanas who were there, the Brahmanas collected, they chanted beautiful hymns, and they offered everything to the Lord. So before that, all the Brajvasis, they perform circumambulation of Govardhan, and and this is on the encouragement of Krishna encourages them that aap sab ye Govardhan parikrama kar lo, and till this date, Prabhupada says, till this date, he says the Govardhan puja and Govardhan parikrama was inaugurated on that particular day, which is the new moon day. On that day it was inaugurated, and ever since 5,300 years later, even till this date, on the date of Govardhan Puja, and also on the date of Guru Purnima, which is the appearance day of Srila Sanatan Goswami, one of our 6 Goswamis in our parampara. On that day, everyone does Govardhan Parikrama. So this Govardhan Parikrama they did, and they came, and even today, how they did is also described. They went with their carts, the gopis were beautifully dressed, sitting on the carts, and the men were going with the cows and bullocks, going all around Govardhan, and they came back. And then this beautiful puja is prepared, and then they start the Govardhan Puja. And somewhere in between this, suddenly Krishna, he assumes an enormous form. He takes an enormous form right in front of them. He's standing there, Krishna is standing there, and suddenly he takes an enormous form. He says, I am Govardhan. And he comes and he eats whatever those mountains of prasad bhoga that has been prepared there. He just eats it in one go, gulp. Just in one go, it's all gone. And there is there is nothing left. There's no prasad left. So, Maharaj had mentioned in the lecture that, Krishna, Radha Krishna deities or Gaur-Mita deities are so merciful that, imagine if they did that, right? We would bring some bhoga and keep it before them, and they eat everything and leave nothing for us. No Mahaprasad, right? But, the Lord is so merciful that he simply glances. The Lord's every sense is equivalent to every other sense. So the Lord can taste with his eyes also. Simply by glancing upon the food, he is able to taste. So if it is offered with love, Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Rupartham Ashnami. Ashnami, I will accept Prayatatmana. So he says, if you offer me with love and devotion a fruit, a flower, a leaf, a water, I shall accept it. So Krishna is very merciful. So he leaves us always some Mahaprasad, which we then mix back into the main prasad, and then we can have as prasad. So Krishna, he just consumed everything. Govardhan, Krishna in the form of Govardhan, he consumed the whole thing. And after eating the whole thing, he started saying, Anior, Anior, give me more, give me more. Now the Brajvasis were in anxiety. They said, Anior? अरे घर में जितना अनाज था, जितना सब्जी था, जितना फल था, सब कुछ तो लेके आए. We have brought everything. There is nothing left. अब ये अनियोर कहाँ से दे? Where we will satisfy Krishna again? From where we will bring more offerings? So they were in great anxiety. At that time, one intelligent devotee said, they took one tulsi leaf and they placed it before the Lord. And the Lord had that tulsi leaf and he was very satisfied. After that, again, everything manifested. All the food that had been eaten by Govardhan, everything manifested again. So Srila Prabhupada says, because Krishna took this form of Govardhan, see, Govardhan is also called Haridasa Varya, the greatest devotee of Krishna. But Govardhan is also worshipped as Krishna. So Prabhupada says that the stones, the stones and rocks that are found near Govardhan, devotees can take them and they can worship them, as Krishna, worship them like Krishna. So that is why, because Krishna took that form, he came as Govardhan, he came as the Supreme Lord in the form of Govardhan. Therefore, till this date, devotees worship Govardhan. So for those of you who have gone to Govardhan Eco Village near Vada, you would have seen that there is a replica of Vrindavan in that entire campus. There are the 7 temples of Vrindavan. There are some of the forests have been replicated. Some of the other temples like Barsana, Barsana temple, Sriji temple of Barsana, then the Nandgaon temple. Everything has been replicated, and they have replicated the whole Govardhan also. There is a whole Govardhan parikrama that one can do, and there's one proper Govardhan Shila that is kept there and worshipped daily, very, very beautifully in the mornings. So if you go to Govardhan Eco Village, you should certainly go a little early, or go one day and then stay back. And next morning, if you attend, the Shringar Darshan, Mangala Arti, and then after Shringar Darshan, first Shringar Darshan is of Radha Vrindavan Bihari. After that, they go to, Radha Madan Mohan Mandir they go. And then from there, they go to Govardhan. तो 3 जन का एक करके दर्शन होता है, बहुत सुंदर, it's very beautiful. So those of you who have never been there, you should certainly plan to go there. Maybe we can all plan a picnic someday, and we can all organize and go there. So this is what, it's very beautiful. So this kind of a Govardhan Puja was done, and the Lord again manifested everything. All the food appeared, and after the food appeared, the Brajvasis were very happy. Everyone was very ecstatic. Everyone starts enjoying the feast. They were throwing food at each other. And Prabhupada says that, even now in Vrindavan, in Govardhan, Annakut, till this day, they do this beautiful festival called Annakut, where, the people from all the surrounding villages of Govardhan, they come together on the day of Govardhan Puja. They all bring offerings. They offer to the Lord. And sometimes they throw food at each other. Prabhupada says there's so much love, they just throw food at it, and even the food has fallen on the ground, they pick it up and eat it. He says that because it is Krishna Prasad, it does not even get contaminated, right? So like that, Prabhupada says. So they all enjoyed the feast. Then they, take everything back, all their bullock carts and everything, and they go back to their homes. They return to their homes. So this is the beautiful transcendental Govardhan Puja. For many, many years, for almost, I think, 10, 15 years, the Vrindavan Yatra, the Kartik Vrindavan Yatra that used to be organized by Shishi Radha Gopinath Mandir, we used to have a Govardhan Annakut also, where actually what used to happen was all the devotees, Radhanath Swami would, on a particular day, I think on Govardhan Puja day only, on that day, he would invite all the devotees to come together, and, a huge cooking arena would be created, and everyone would be given some, cooking ingredients. They would be given a chula, a wood-fired chula. They would give to everybody, and people would cook various offerings, and hundreds and thousands of offerings get made, and then being offered to Govardhan over there. And then there's a big feast. So this is the Govardhan Puja, which is still prevalent, still very ecstatically celebrated by the disciples and grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and by the Brajvasis, of course, themselves. So this is what happened. Now, this was the Govardhan Puja. And now what happened was the Govardhan Lila, right? So the Lila, one part of the Lila is where the Lord, convinces them not to worship Indra. Second part is the actual worship of Govardhan. And the third part of this Leela is the most beautiful and captivating part of this Leela. So what happens is, Indra, now when he comes to know that his worship has been stopped, specifically Indra Puja Band Karo, right? Krishna is not said ki Govardhan Puja karo aur ye bhi karo, chalega, dono karo. Like devotees sometimes, new devotees, when they come to us, right, when they come within ISKCON, they ask us कि अच्छा हम लोग ना गणेश का भी पूजा करते हैं, हम लोग ये भी करते हैं, वो भी करते हैं, अभी हम लोग ये हरे कृष्णा मंत्र कर रहे हैं, तो क्या करना चाहिए? So we tell them that, see, if you are very attached to doing that, we tell them that, see, if you worship Krishna, it is like worshipping the root of the tree. These demigods, and they're all like the branches, leaves, and fruits of the tree. So if you worship if you worship the, if you water the root of the tree, automatically the branches, leaves, flowers, fruits all get water. They receive water. You don't alag se do it. But अगर आपकी आस्था है, अगर आपकी श्रद्धा है इन डेमिगॉड्स में, तो आप वो कंटिन्यू करो, and also start chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Ultimately, after some point of time, whatever your heart tells you, do that. And more often than not, those who start chanting Hare Krishna and they read the philosophy, they understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, so then they stop worshipping demigods. This is how we give them space, right, to expand their faith in Krishna first, so that, you know, prematurely we don't break their faith that they have in other demigods. But dear Krishna didn't do that. He said, no, nothing doing. No Indra Puja. So Indra was very agitated, very angry, and he decided to vent his anger on the Brajvasis. He forgot who is Krishna. Indra forgot that this is Krishna, is the Supreme Lord, he's come down, you know, and he's for the time being staying in Vrindavan. Later on, he's going to go and kill Kamsa, who is the enemy of the demigods. He's going to do that. And he said, these Brajvasis, they have come under the influence of this foolish, arrogant, and over talkative boy. And iske behkawe mein aake mera worship band kiya. How dare they? And he is like so agitated. And this is what happens in the material world. This is the nature of the material. So we should learn from this, from these pastimes, that, you know, ये फिर क्या, अरे इंद्रा क्या ऐसा करता है, क्या ये, but हम भी ऐसे हैं, हम भी इंद्रा है. We are Indra in our own homes. Okay, हम अपने घर में इंद्र है, हम अपने ऑफिस में इंद्र है, हम अपने फैमिली में इंद्र है. एंड अगर कोई हमारे अथॉरिटी को क्वेश्चन करता है, चैलेंज करता है, we can't take it. We immediately see that person as an enemy. Don't we do this? Suppose, you know, this, I'll just give you an example. Suppose you're the quote unquote head of the family, okay? The head of the family, and suppose someone comes to your house, you know, someone who's from your village. You grew up in a village and then you came to the city and you become a big man. And someone from a village comes and says, अरे तू तो यार ऐसे रास्ते पे नंगा घूमता था, you know, you used to do susu on the road like that. Immediately the ego comes like a volcano, it just comes out, right? How dare you? You don't know who I am now. मैं कौन बन गया पता है क्या? I am a big general manager in HPCL, in BPCL. I run my own business. आपको पता नहीं है? Immediately our ego comes to the fore. Why? Because we are Indra. We are like Indra. We should not think Indra कोई ऐसा phantom figure है. हम भी वही हैं, हम भी इंद्रा ही हैं. हम भी ऐसे ही बिहेव करते हैं. जब हमारा ईगो को कोई टच भी करता है, हम लोग we become very offended, we become very angry. So understand that these pastimes of the Lord and his devotees are not just some, you know, some entertaining spiritual entertainment. अरे सुन के बड़ा मजा आया, आज एकदम रस आया कथा में. No, you understand, ये झापड़ जो पड़ रहे हैं ना, वो हमारे गाल के लिए. हम भी इंद्र के जैसे ही बिहेव करते हैं. So Indra like this was very agitated. He decided that this person who has stopped my worship is my enemy. And all these Brajvasis are my enemy. I will destroy them. I will show them who is the boss. And this is what we also do, right? When we see that someone is questioning our authority, challenging our authority, we try to crush them. कौन है तू? मैं तेरे को I'll show you तेरी औकात दिखाऊंगा मैं तुझे. I'll show you how insignificant you are in front of me. I'll crush you. This is how we behave. Unfortunately, if you go to corporate life, in corporate life we see this only, you know, that people have such massive, giant size egos. Little bit, you know, if someone who's a management trainee, थोड़ा सा उसको किसी ने क्वेश्चन किया, तो उसका ईगो इतना हर्ट हो जाता है कि वो उसको दबा देता है. I remember one instance, you know, in my first job, I used to work in a company called ICI. The company doesn't exist anymore. The British multinational into chemicals, paints, and so on. So once what happened was there was a management workshop that was being done for all the management, okay, all the management members. And some trainer had come and he was doing a training. And in the training, all of us were there, all the managers were there. Then our bosses were there, the bosses of the managers were there. Then the general manager of the business was like, he was like the big boss, was across all these managers. The second level managers all report to him. And then there was the CEO of the business. The CEO also was there. So in that training, one of the trainer asked a question, to understand what is the role that somebody does in an organization. Sometimes it's a very easy analogy to understand किसी का क्या role है. कभी-कभी हम लोग confuse होते हैं, इसका क्या काम है? What work is this person doing? So a very easy way to know is that what if that person is on leave, okay? If that person is on leave, is not there in the office, तो क्या काम रुक जाता है? That is the role of that person. So ऐसा उन्होंने बोला, तो ऐसा बोला तो what happened was, he said let's take an example, and he referred to that general manager. Okay, he said now if this, I'll not take the name obviously, if this Mr. XYZ is on leave, तो क्या काम रुक जाएगा? Okay. Now when he asked this question, now this general manager was, he had come from another company, and he was just enjoying the perks of that job, was not really doing all that much to grow the business or to make it more profitable or anything like that. He was just generally settling down, having a good time. So when this question was asked that if so and so is on leave, kya kaam ruk jayega, there was a deathly silence. None of his direct reports spoke up. कोई कुछ नहीं, सब ऐसा चुप हो गए, अपना, it was like almost out of shame and embarrassment. क्या बोले, what to say, and a good 10 seconds passed, okay, and became extremely embarrassing that nobody was able to say what Mr. XYZ does. कोई नहीं बोल पा रहा है. And then one of the junior managers who had just joined the company, he said, if Mr. XYZ is on leave, हमारा leave रुक जाएगा. We will not get, हमारा leave request कौन approve करेगा? Right? So he was trying to contribute. He was trying to say something to save the day. But that made the situation worse, right? That means you've got such a senior level guy and he's there only to approve leave requests. And his boss is also sitting in that meeting. That's it. That was the death knell for that manager, right? But you can imagine कि उसको उस management trainee पे कितना गुस्सा आया रहेगा, right? That अरे, this is all, I'll crush you, right? But before he could crush anybody, the CEO crushed him. उसको निकाल ही दिया. And he made all those people who were reporting to that XYZ, they made him CEO said, now you report to me. So anyway, so this is how we work in our material lives also. We become angry, we become vengeful, we become revengeful. So Indra also became like that. And he said he ordered that he ordered the Samvartaka clouds, who are responsible for universal destruction. He told the Samvartaka clouds that you go to Vrindavan and you pour down, destroy all this Vrindavan and destroy all the Brajvasis staying there. Sabko maar do, jao tum. And Samvartaka, the cloud, the personality, was a little anxious. Ki Vrindavan, are you sure? And Indra tells him, don't worry, tum aage jao. मैं पीछे पीछे आ रहा हूँ. भिऊ नकोस, मी तुझ्या पाठीशी आहे. So he says, you just go ahead. I'm coming behind you. On Airavat, I will come, and I will come with all kinds of storms and with my, what is that? क्या बोलते हैं उसको? जो Vajra.
Power.
Thank you. Yes, I'll come with my Vajra. Don't worry. So then, Samvartaka clouds come and it starts pouring down on Vrindavan with so much force. There are heavy winds blowing. There is tremendous, rain is falling down almost like, first it starts falling like sharp arrows. Full force ke saath the rain is coming. And then it starts raining like pillars, like whole columns are falling, not raindrops, pillars. Imagine the pillars of rain are falling. What kind of an experience? So the Brajvasis are in tremendous anxiety. The cows are, are in anxiety. The calves are afraid. They're under their mothers. The Brajvasis are getting drenched. It became so much water started filling. It was difficult to recognize which is low ground, which is high ground. So much water started filling up in no time. So the Brajvasis, see, this is the characteristic of the Brajvasis. Whenever they are in difficulty, when they are in good times, also they remember Krishna. They are always chanting the glories of Krishna. They're chanting the pastimes of Krishna. But when they're in bad time, also they think of Krishna only. So they go to Krishna. Hey Krishna, please save us. See what has happened. This, Indra is pouring down incessant rains. Looks like we will all be killed. Please do something. So Krishna, he is Bhakta Vatsal. He is the obedient servant of his devotees, and he always is very concerned about the welfare of the Vaishnavas. So when he saw that the Vaishnavas, the Brajvasis, are being tormented by this horrible storm that has been created by Indra, he knows that Indra has done this. Indra has come back vengefully. So he decides, okay, I will show him his place, right? So what he does is, Acharya is described that he started going towards Govardhan. And he said, everyone follow me. He goes towards Govardhan and he doesn't even tighten his waistband. You remember last time when we were discussing Kalya Daman, he said that Krishna apna kamar band kas lete hain, aisa tight kar lete hain. Then he jumps on that tamal tree and then he jumps into the Yamuna. But इस बार भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने अपना कमरबंद भी नहीं कस लिया कि ये कुछ एफर्ट नहीं है इसमें, ये क्या इंद्र हट, like a completely dismissing Indra. He was not at all bothered. He goes and not even tightens his kamarband. He just goes and picks up the whole of Govardhan. And this is that beautiful pastime which all of you can see in the background over here, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, tender child of 7 or 8 years old, with a beautiful body that is, like a tamal tree, color of a tamal tree, like the color of a fresh monsoon cloud, delicate and soft like butter. That child goes and just picks up a mountain, and Prabhupada and Sukhdev Goswami says, like a child picks up a mushroom, like an umbrella. He just picked it up, and on the the left hand ka pinky finger, which is Prabhupada says it is the weakest part of the body, right? Of all the muscles, this is the weakest muscle. So is ungli pe, he could have held it on his right hand like this. He could have held it on his left hand like this. He held it on one finger. It wasn't. It's like adding insult to injury. He went and held it like this on his finger. So the weakest part of my body, I can lift any ordinary mountain like this, and I can easily quell any threat or any difficulty you're trying to create for my devotees. So Krishna is showing here what he means, yoga kshemam vahamyaham. He's showing that how I personally protect my devotees. I don't leave it to anybody else. He personally protects his devotees, and he does it in the most beautiful way possible, right? He holds like this, and of course, in the meantime, it is raining and raining. Like some of you might remember that that day, 26 July 2005, when it started raining. I think in the morning around 11:30, and it rained till next morning. And rain means it was like this. It was like the Samvatka clouds. Of course, that was even worse. But this 2005 rains was so horrible. I still remember I was in Prabhadevi. I was working in Prabhadevi, and luckily I decided to leave my car there in the office. Prabhadevi somehow was blessed. See, this is how it works. This is how karma works. That disaster strikes in one place, but it doesn't strike in the other. And even in the place where it strikes, some people die and some don't. Some just suffer. I suffered, but I didn't die. My wife suffered, she didn't die, right? She came very close. Okay. So I'll just tell one quick story. We were wading through the water. At 2:20, I left office. I reached home at 10:30. And the water was, so much in Sion itself. It was, almost chest height. Sion, Chunabati area. Somehow wading through. I had a laptop, with me, like how Krishna is holding, Govardhan. I was holding the laptop on my head, and with the other hand, I was holding the umbrella on my head. कि laptop नहीं भीगना चाहिए, because laptop में अपना सब office का काम है. So somehow walking through that water, and finally I reached the last. I used to earlier live in Sindhi Society near Sindhi Society Gymkhana, Trishul building. So I used to stay there. The last 100 meters leading to my house, okay, as I started walking in that, the water came up to my neck, okay. And before this, I had spoken to my wife. We had coordinated. She was coming from Khar, I was coming from Prabha Devi, and at some point dono ka phone was, phone band ho gaya. And I when I came there, I saw the water is coming till here, till my neck, and my legs started lifting from the floor, because when water comes to that height, you can't walk. It's difficult. So I was struggling, and I thought that I hope Priyasaki has reached home, because she is below this height. So I said, वो इस पानी से कैसे चल के गई रहेगी? I was praying that somehow I hope she has reached. There's no way of communicating. So I started walking, and slowly the water is going up, 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 up. It came up to my neck, and I was struggling. Suddenly, out of nowhere, two people were standing near that Trishul building, about maybe 10-20 meters from there. They saw me struggling. They came up to me. They held so both of them, held me here, below the shoulders. They held me up, and they helped me to walk up to my building, just 10-20 meters. Then I walked. Building में पूरा पानी, यहाँ तक भरा हुआ था, chest तक भरा हुआ था. I ran up to my flat. I saw the children were there. We had a maid servant that time, permanent maid servant we had. So I asked her, Priyasa Krishna, she said, अभी तक भाभी अभी तक नहीं आई. I just dumped my laptop and I ran down again. As I ran down, I saw those same two people. Okay, they were holding Priyasaki literally like this. ऐसा shoulder से ऐसा दोनों ने ऐसा पकड़ के, keeping her head above the water. They literally lifted her and they brought her up to the gate. And then both of them went away. I never found out who those two people were. It was completely dark, no electricity, no light. I could just see that these two people were there. They literally saved our lives on that day, right? So Krishna, Rake Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rake ke, right? That somehow the Lord saved both of us. These two people, who they were, God knows, but Krishna saved us, right? So like this, we have to see that, when these kind of things happen, we have to see that this is the Lord's arrangement. Prabha Devi, there was not so much rain, udhar pani bhara hi nahi. Whereas on this side, there was horrible devastation that happened, right? Anyway, so rain was pouring, and Krishna picks up this like a child picks up a mushroom. He picks up the Govardhan Parvat and tells all the Brajvasis, come, everyone come under Govardhan. Govardhan will protect us. See, we worshipped Govardhan. Now Govardhan will protect us. Come. So they all come under the Govardhan Parvat. And here, in order to crush the pride of Indra, Krishna brings all the Brajvasis. He tells all of them, come with your cows, with your family, with your belongings, whatever you can, सब कुछ लेके आ जाओ. Come under Govardhan. कोई problem नहीं. Govardhan के नीचे हमें कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता. And for 7 days and 7 nights, Krishna held up this beautiful, this beautiful darshan that we can see over here, that the Lord in my background, the Lord is holding up, the Govardhan forest, and very pleasingly smiling, glancing upon all the Brajvasis. The Brajvasis are in anxiety to start with, because they are wet and they are shivering with the cold, because hail is falling along with the rains. It's very cold. Vrindavan in winter becomes very cold, and in winter when it rains in a cold place, it's horrible. It's like hell. But that hell became like Vaikuntha. Moment they got the beautiful darshan of Shri Girivaradhari, Govardhan Dhari, right? Giriraj, the Lord is holding Giriraj and he is Girivaradhari. So when the Lord is holding this beautiful mountain, all of them came below the mountain. And now Srila Prabhupada explains that he held it like this for 7 days and thereby crushed the pride of Indra. Indra is full fight maar rahe hain. Pura mehnat kar rahe. He's hurling thunderbolts. The rain is pouring down. But the Govardhan is not moving by 1 millimeter also. 1 millimeter se bhi nahi hila Govardhan. And such heavy thunderbolts and rain falling on the surface of Govardhan. But Govardhan is, very peaceful. In fact, he's in ecstasy. Why? Because the Lord is touching him. He's in ecstasy, Govardhan. Just enjoying that whole experience. So, Prabhupada says, for those who are envious of Krishna and say, oh, why he is there with the gopis, he's enjoying with the gopis like this. He says, if you are envious that he is Gopi Jana Vallabha, you have to understand he is also Girivaradhari. And we chant, no? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivaradhari. So he's not just Gopi Jana Vallabha, he's also Girivaradhari. So if you wish to imitate, then you also please first live Govardhan. Then after that, you can say that, okay, I am also, something. If you can't lift a mountain, then please, बैठ जाओ, sit down, Like sometimes the student, कोई student बहुत ज़्यादा मस्ती करने जाता है and tries to act smart in front of the teacher. Teacher in 2 minutes shows them their औकात and says, अभी बैठ जाओ, हो गया, बैठ, sit down, like that. So Krishna shows the औकात, right? He tells Indra that insignificant, you can't touch my devotees. If I decide, nothing can happen. So it is described that for those 7 days and 7 nights, the Brajvasis did not experience any hunger, any thirst. They didn't feel anything. What was then? What was nourishing them? What was satisfying them? Simply by glancing upon the beautiful lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Shyam Sundar Krishna, just by looking at Krishna. उनको क्या भूख क्या प्यास कुछ मालूम ही नहीं है. They are not experiencing any hunger, any thirst. In fact, they are in complete ecstasy because they are getting uninterrupted darshan. Krishna is on a slight height. Everyone, see, as you can see in this picture, everyone is looking at him and just enjoying the beauty of his face where he's lovingly smiling upon all of them. And this is Krishna. Krishna is like a 360-degree person. The person whom he's looking at feels he's looking at only me. But some person sitting on the opposite direction feels he's looking only at me. So this is Krishna. He's unlimited. He's able to reciprocate unlimitedly and individually, mutually, paraspar with each devotee. This is Krishna. This is his unlimited nature. So while he's doing this, all the gopas, gopis, everyone is there. It's like a great mela over there. Suddenly the mood changes from fear and anxiety to sheer ecstasy. Everyone is in happiness, just looking at Krishna, holding and that darshan. They just keep looking at that darshan. They are not satiated. They are not saturated. कि चल बस हो गया अभी, चल अपने काम पे लगते हैं अभी, कुछ करते हैं. Let's do something. No, just enjoying the beautiful sight. Yashoda Mai is in anxiety. As you can see over here to the left of Krishna, that is Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Yashoda Mai is in anxiety. Yare Krishna ka kya hoga? Bichare, he must be tired. I must feed him. So she is in anxiety. But everyone else is in ecstasy. Everyone is having a gala time there. They are enjoying. And then amidst all this, Krishna, he with his sidelong glance, from the side of his eyes, he looks at the gopis. He looks at the gopis because gopis are also there. No, all of them are there over there. So he just glances upon the gopis, and when he glances upon the gopis, he is filled with so much ecstasy by seeing the gopis, and the gopis are filled with so much ecstasy by seeing him, that Govardhan starts trembling in his hand. Okay, so he's holding Govardhan already, and the Govardhan starts shaking. When the Govardhan starts shaking, all the Brajvasis, everyone becomes very anxiety, everyone becomes very afraid. And in their anxiety, the other gopas, see, as you can see in this painting, some of them are holding up sticks. So they start raising their sticks and they think we will assist Krishna. Maybe Krishna is getting tired. बेचारे कितना टाइम पकड़ के रखेंगे, थक जाएंगे, तो हम लोग भी कुछ असिस्टेंस करते हैं. And they are holding the sticks and they feel कि I am supporting Krishna and that's why Govardhan खड़ा है, वरना कहाँ, And then Madhumangal, Madhumangal, who is the Brahmana friend of Krishna, he says that आप लोग सबको लगता होगा कि आप ये स्टिक पकड़ के उसकी वजह से गोवर्धन है, या because Krishna is holding this Govardhan with his finger. Actually, it is all my Brahma Tejas, by my opulence, by my powers, Brahminical powers. I am, because of those powers, this Govardhan is being held up. It's not Krishna, it's not this. So like everyone starts laughing and everyone's having a gala time like this. And after some time, Krishna, he says that can I play a flute? मैं flute play करता हूँ. Let me entertain all the Brajvasis. But one hand is like this, no, other hand is free. With the other hand, I'll play flute. Madhu Mangal tells him, no, Baba, please, आप flute मत बजाओ. बाकी कुछ भी करो चलेगा. आप flute मत बजाओ. So everyone says, why not flute? He says, because when you play the flute, like we discussed, you remember the opulence, Venu Madhuri. When Krishna plays the flute, that time that which is liquid becomes solid. The Yamuna stops flowing. And that which is solid, the rocks, they start melting and flowing. So Madhumangal says, Baba, please, आप ना flute मत बजाओ. आप flute बजाओगे, तो this Govardhan may start melting and we will all die. Under the Govardhan we will die. So please, आप flute मत बजाओ. So like this very, very beautiful, sweet pastimes are going on between the Brajvasis and Sham Sundar Krishna for full 7 days, 7 nights. Ahaituki, apratiyata bhakti is just flowing between the Supreme Lord and his Vaishnavas. So after 7 days, Indra has been trying and trying. The Samvartaka cloud see, Baba, bas, abhi humse aur nahi ho payega. And they return. And Krishna and Indra realizes his foolishness. He has been baffled by Krishna's potency. He tells the rains, okay, you stop, you go now. And then after the rains clear up, Krishna tells all the Brajvasis that all right, now you can return to your homes with all your belongings. The waters have receded. And then after that is done, carefully he replaces Govardhan. And all the Brajvasis come, some of them embrace him, some of them, pour milk on him, milk and yogurt on him. Some of them are singing his glories. Very beautiful, and then they all return to their homes. Now, after all this has happened, Indra, who is the most chastised in the whole thing, Indra is feeling ki अरे यार ये मैंने क्या गड़बड़ कर दिया. He realizes his folly. He first goes to Brahma, right? He goes to Brahma and says, Brahma ji, मैंने ना थोड़ा एक गड़बड़ कर दिया. I have done one big offense. तो आप जरा बताओ ना मेरे को क्या करना चाहिए. ब्रह्मा बोलते कि मैं तुम्हें एडवाइस करूं. अरे बॉस, मैंने तो सब ब्रजवासी को किडनैप कर लिया था and I ended up offending Krishna like that. You don't come to me for advice, you go to your guru, go to Brihaspati. So he goes to Brihaspati and he asks for advice. Acharya explain, they ask for advice. Brihaspati tells him, you have committed a great offense. You have tried to kill the Brajvasis. I mean, there can be no greater offense than this. Offense may Shiro Ratnam, the greatest offense you have committed. So he says that there is no way that you can just now please the Lord. He says that you go with the cow, you take Surbi, you take Mother Surbi with you, and then you approach Krishna. If he sees Surbi, then Krishna will be pleased, because Krishna is Namo Brahman Devaya Go Brahman Hitaya Cha. Govinda is the one who gives pleasure to the cows. So therefore, you go with Surbi. So Indra, he keeps Surbi in front and he comes from behind and he pays obeisances. He puts his head at the lotus feet of Krishna. He begs for forgiveness. And some very beautiful prayers he chants, glorifying the Supreme Lord. So after this whole thing happens, he begs forgiveness. Surbi also speaks. She also glorifies Krishna. So then Krishna, after his praise, he smiled. So I am quoting from here. He smiled beautifully and then replied in a grave voice like a rumbling cloud. Okay, so this is very important, right? Till then, he's been playing the role of a child, as a 7-year-old child. But he is not an ordinary 7-year-old child. He is the supreme personality of God. He always was, he always is, and always shall be. There's never a moment that he passes on that role to somebody. No, he's always the Supreme Lord. Even if he's struggling in the coils of Kalia, he's still Supreme Lord only. He never changes his position. But because Indra is begging forgiveness, he speaks in a grave voice like a rumbling cloud. He says, "My dear Indra, I stopped your sacrifice just to show you my causeless mercy and to remind you that I am your eternal master. You should remember, you should never forget that I am your eternal master. I am the master of not only you, but of all the other demigods as well. You should always remember that all your material opulences are due to my mercy." He says, no living entity can independently become opulent. Very important. So the things that Krishna tells Indra are for whom? They are not just for Indra, they are for you and me. तो ये सब हमारे लिए भी apply होता है. तो अभी आप फिर से सुनो. I did this to remind you that I am your eternal master. Krishna is telling me, he's telling you that he is our eternal master. Remember that all material offenses are due to my mercy. No living entity, none of us can independently become opulent. One must be favored by my mercy. Everyone should always remember that I am the Supreme Lord. I can show anyone my favor and I can chastise anyone because no one is superior to me. This is very important. Like we discussed at the start, demigods can't do this. They can't, favor anyone and chastise anyone. But the Supreme Lord can, because he's superior to everyone. If I find someone overpowered by pride, in order to show him my causeless mercy, I withdraw all his opulences. Prabhupada warns over here that if a devotee becomes very proud of his opulences and starts strutting around like a peacock, Krishna may take away those opulences. Those opulences could be anything. They could be your great wealth. They could be your knowledge. They could be your ability to sing kirtan. They could be your ability to cook for the Lord. They could be your ability. Lord can take it away in a snap, right? So be careful. Krishna can withdraw your opulences. So like this, he chastises Indra and then he forgives him. So now, to conclude, let's just meditate on this moment for a moment. Krishna says, if you offend my devotee, I'll never forgive you, right? So we see in the case of Ambrish Maharaj, right? In case of Ambrish Maharaj, what did Durvas do? Durvas created a one demon to try and kill Ambrish because he was offended, because his ego was hurt. Now Krishna, before anything could happen, he sent his Sudarshan Chakra, killed the demon. वो demon मतलब Ambrish Maharaj का एक बाल भी बांका नहीं कर पाए. He could not even, before he could even act, the demon was killed by Sudarshan. ऐसा एक उंगली उठाने के पहले उनको मार दिया. And then the Sudarshan Chakra was chasing Durvas for 1 full year. तो जहां पे ऑफेंस का इच्छा था लेकिन पूरी तरह से ऑफेंस हुआ भी नहीं, वहां पे इतना हैवी पनिशमेंट दिया, लेकिन इंद्र को ऐसे छोड़ दिया. ठीक है, जाओ जाओ, हाँ जाओ जाओ. He just sent him away. So how merciful is Krishna, right? So His Grace Jagannath Prabhu, one of our brahmacharis, has made a very beautiful point, very nice analogy for us to understand. In the material world, suppose there is a CEO, of some company, chairman, CMD of a company, okay, and suppose that chairman is staying in his home, in his bungalow, with his family, his friends, everyone is there in that bungalow. They all come for a get together. At that time, one of the employees who is extremely envious of the chairman and his family that he wants to kill, he sets fire to the whole house. सारे घर को आग लगा, सब मरने दो, let all die. Somehow the chairman, because he has put fire extinguishers everywhere, he is able to save himself and able to save all the, all his family and friends. And he knows that it is this person who's done it because he's standing there watching, enjoying the fun, what will the chairman do to that person? First thing he will say, you are sacked, you are fired. उसको नौकरी से पहला immediately उसको fire कर देगा. उसके बाद उसको कोर्ट मार्शल करेगा, उसको पुलिस में भेजेगा, उसके ऊपर दावा करेगा, he will ensure he goes to jail forever, you know. That is what the CEO would do. But what does Krishna do? Krishna just lets him go with a mild chastisement. इतना कुछ heavy भी बोला नहीं, अरे बेवकूफ क्या किया तूने, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं बोला. He said, my dear Indra, I stopped your sacrifice just to show you my causeless mercy and to remind you that I am your eternal master. You have forgot? याद दिलाने के लिए ये सब किया. So Lord Krishna is so merciful to his devotees. The Acharyas explained that why he was so merciful to. He was not so merciful to Brahma. Brahma को थोड़ा ऐसा, you know why? Because when Brahma kidnapped the gopas and the calves, he was separating Krishna from his devotees. He was separating Krishna from his dear devotees. But what did Indra do? Why Krishna was not so upset with Indra? Because because Indra brought Krishna closer, very intimately, physically close to his devotees for a full 7 days. So it's like a beautiful devotional service that inadvertently, not knowingly, न जानते हुए उन्होंने इतना सुंदर सेवा किया कि भगवान प्रसन्न हो गए कि चलो ठीक है तू जा, go back to your service. This is Krishna. This is the beautiful lila of Govardhan, lila of the Supreme Personality embodied, which makes us understand many lessons to be learned from this lila. First, that Nave Bhaktya Pranashati, Krishna will never allow his devotee to perish. Second, that we understand that how Krishna wants us to do Ananya Bhakti. Don't get caught in all this, different pujas and yagyas and homes. If you do good, theek hai, karo, but don't take that as the, that is the thing that will solve all my problems. No. If you're a devotee of the Lord, then surrender to Krishna. As he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. We learn that from this pastime. Simply surrender like the Brajvasis. Krishna will take care of. He will surely, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Nijana Paripasate. He says, Yoga Kshemam Mahamyam. I will protect you, don't worry. Right? So that is what we can learn. We also learn that Krishna does not tolerate the pride of a devotee. So become proud. What do we have to become proud? Kya hai kya hamare paas? We are like beggars, simply beggars. Nothing. Just whatever we have, whatever ability we have, that ability is coming from Krishna. It is coming by the grace of Guru. We should never become proud. So with that, I'll end here. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, anybody? There are not too many people on the call today. I can see only 28 people, but anyway, thank you for those of you who joined. Please bring along your friends, your relatives, neighbors, colleagues, invite whoever you can. Give them the opportunity to hear Krishna Katha. Hare Krishna. So any comments, questions, anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam. Thank you so much for a wonderful Govardhan Leela. And I just wanted to thank you. And then my friend Sampath is here on, is attended the function today's satsang. Thank you, Sampath. So I just wanted to share that with you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Sampath Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Any comments, questions, anyone? All right. So if there's no further questions or comments from anyone, let us do kirtan for a few minutes. Today we are on time, miraculously, by the arrangement of the Lord. Let us do kirtan for a few minutes. Hare Krishna. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Giridhari Radhe Jayo Radha Giridhari Radhe Jai Radha Govardhan Dhari Radhe Jaya Radha Govardhan Dhari Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai कलि युग पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय बोलो केर प्रेम धन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय शील प्रभुपाद की जय शील गुरुदेव की जय हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल
हरि हरि बोल।
थैंक यू वेरी मच हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा।